So I promised that my next video wouldn't take another 6 weeks. And technically, it's been 8. So starting on the journey of being an at-home barista can be a little overwhelming. There are numerous steps to consider, and the product that you're left with at the end of the process is dictated by the sum of the parts. Naturally, one of the most important factors when it comes to making good at-home coffee is the quality of the grind and the quality of the beans. The question then becomes, are you going to save yourself the hassle and buy yourself pre-ground beans, or are you going to try and do it yourself at home? Even then, there are a plethora of options when it comes to grinding at home, from manual hand grinders all the way up to the incredible selection of electric grinders that are on the market these days. All of which, of course, have their own unique pros and cons. When I began my journey, I started by using pre-ground coffee. This was more just to hone my skills as a barista and to sort of get used to the espresso machine that I had picked up. But as time went on, I really wanted to control that element of the grind, to be able to buy the beans fresh, grind them myself, to make sure that they didn't go stale or anything like that. So I spent about 6 months working with a manual grinder, and let me tell you, that is one of the most laborious things you can possibly do to make coffee at home. Don't do it if you can avoid it. After this time, I started looking at certain electric grinders. So the Niche Zero is generally regarded as one of the really good prosumer level grinders that you can get for the home. However, at £500, it's quite expensive. And if you do want to get one, you really need to be sharp because they will sell out so quick. They're not mass produced, so you need to get them through their Kickstarter page. And if you miss out, that's going to be it for several months. So after a lot of research and after sort of tallying up the pros and cons of each of the grinders available to me, I decided to pull the trigger on the Eureka Mignon Specialita. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the Eureka Mignon Specialita. I'm going to tell you about my experience with this machine over the last few months, some of its pros, cons, and hopefully answer some frequently asked questions. So firstly, is the Eureka Mignon Specialita even worth it? In short, if you're looking for an Italian-made stepless grinder for home underneath the £500, I honestly don't think you can do much better than Eureka Mignon Specialita. The amount of adjusting available to you for your preferred brewing methods, the lack of retention when it comes to the grind, the excellent design, that it looks incredibly elegant and modern and sophisticated, it's a wonderful grinder for the price point. And there really isn't much competition out there that can beat it. And honestly, I'm not really sure why it's not talked about more, because it's such a fantastic option. Next, where's the machine made? So Eureka, an Italian company, continue to manufacture their wide range of grinders and accessories in Florence, Italy. What can the Specialita grind for? So as I mentioned previously, the Eureka Mignon Specialita has a stepless grind system, which basically means there's a little wheel that allows you to adjust the coarseness of the grind by micro adjustments. So you're not jumping between certain settings. It's not like espresso is here, cafetière's there, Turkish is here, whatever. You can just fine tune it. You can keep spinning it until really you don't really notice any more of a difference, I guess. But honestly, I found that it can absolutely go fine enough for espresso and even finer, which, you know, making it far too fine for espresso. But that's totally available to you. And that's a really big benefit of this system. I've used it for espresso mainly, but I have experimented with it and found that you can definitely use it for things like pour over and cafetière without any issues at all. How do you use the Specialita? So, here's the breakdown. Pour the beans into the top of the Specialita. Select your desired grind size. Select one of the pre-programmed or custom-timed grind modes, or grind manually if single dosing. Voila! What does the Specialita come with? Essentially, the grinder comes with just a few basic components. The grinder itself, the hopper, the little fork to place your basket on top of, and the cable to power it. If you want to see an unboxing of the Specialita, I did that a few months ago, so you can do that by clicking the box up here. Check that out if you fancy it. Coffee retention. Now, I did film the coffee retention for this video, and I think because it was the first grind of the day that there was possibly some coffee left over from the night before, but it's literally 0.3 of a grind, which is amazing for the first coffee of the day. I reweighed it a couple of hours later and there was 0 retention. It was exactly 18 grams in, 18 grams out, and that's phenomenal. Considering I've been using this grinder now for several months, it's incredible to know that it still has that level of quality and of grind preciseness. What's with the LCD touchscreen? So essentially, Eureka have included this wonderful little LCD touchscreen. What this allows you to do is to grind for a single cup, a double cup. You can increase the time amount of grinds, decrease the amount of time. It allows you to program it however you need. So if you know that you're regularly grinding 20 grams, for example, there may be a time limit on that and you can just sort of stick it on, let it do its thing. Personally, I prefer using the manual button. That's just a personal preference thing. But the amount of flexibility on the LCD screen is amazing, honestly. It's really, really cool. The touchscreen is really responsive and it doesn't feel like an outdated sort of bit of tech that where you have to push really hard or something like that. No, it's great, honestly. It's very, very useful. I know some people that have the same grinder and they use the functions on the LCD screen, just not something I use personally. So it wouldn't be fair for me to go over this entire video without considering some of the negatives of the grinder, and there certainly are some. The first thing to note is that the plastic hopper on top of the grinder feels really cheap when compared to the rest of the grinder. So the grinder itself is mainly just made of metal, but this hopper on top is nasty, wobbly kind of plastic. It's really not conducive to the quality of the rest of the grinder. But honestly, I'd rather them have spent money on the grinder itself and making sure that it functions properly and does the job it's meant to do than faff around spending money on the hopper. But, I mean, I am a little disappointed with that, I've got to say. The popcorning in the hopper can be a little annoying, but that's not the end of the world because you have a lid on, so it's not going to fly out everywhere. The next thing is the way that the hopper sort of slots into the grinder. There can be a little bit of coffee retention around there over time. That's a little annoying and is not really that easy to clean either. The little plastic slider in the hopper, that feels super cheap, super wobbly. I really wasn't impressed with that at all. That's probably the first thing that I noticed actually when putting the grinder together. The forks that hold the basket in place can feel a little wobbly and isn't really that easy to adjust either. Again, not a deal breaker, just a little thing. And finally, while the manual button is a real welcome, it can be a little too easy to hit sometimes. So when moving the coffee around a little bit in the basket, it can get hit by accident and turn off. Again, that's a real minor annoyance. So I thought I'd finish off the video with just a few more random positives that don't necessarily fall into the sort of FAQ portion. First of all, the price point. It's amazing for this kind of grinder. I think I bought it for something in the region of £350, and that's sort of right where you want to be in terms of entry-level grinders. But the quality that it has is so much higher than other grinders in that price range. Really, the next step up for me would be to buy like a niche Zero or something, and again, you're looking at spending £500 on that. Next, the chrome finish and the metal bodywork makes the product feel nice and premium, and it feels like a good piece of hardware to keep in your kitchen and not look out of place. The hopper, while I do complain about how plastic it is, it can hold quite a lot of beans if that's what you wanted to do. Personally, I prefer to single dose, so I'll weigh out my beans at the time, but if you wanted to, you could easily hold up to a 250 gram bag of coffee without any issues at all. The adjustment wheel is so intuitive and really simple to use. The coffee grind consistency is excellent. It's not clumpy at all. It's just nice and consistent and fluffy, exactly how you want it. It's incredibly weighty as well, and that does help it feel like a more premium product. It has 55mm steel burrs, which are fantastic as well. They do an excellent job of grinding the beans. It's surprisingly quiet actually. I've heard other grinders in the similar sort of price point and they can be real loud. But I can hold a conversation while grinding the beans at all without needing to shout. It's at quite a reasonable level really, and considering I've got, a 3-month baby in the house, not waking him up is a massive priority, and the grinder doesn't do that, so that's a win. It's really fast actually, and at my current sort of 18 gram single dose grind, it takes around 10 to 11 seconds in total. Finally, it's quite a small footprint, all things considered. It's reasonably tall, but it's not that fat, so it does fit in with the kitchen quite nicely. It doesn't take up an amazing amount of room. And that is the Eureka Mignon Specialita. What do you guys think? I found this a really, really worthwhile investment. When I was manually grinding, I went down to about 1 cup a day just because I couldn't be arsed. But now I've gone up to about 2 cups a day, and it allows me to be a lot more precise in how I'm grinding my beans and has improved the consistency of the shots that I'm pulling from my gaggia. Do you have any additional questions that I didn't answer? Drop them below in the comment section, and I'm more than happy to engage with you and talk about my experiences with the grinder. But if you enjoyed this video, why not drop me a like? It really helps the channel grow and allows this video to be seen by those who are interested in the machine. If you'd like to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. I try to upload, well, whenever I can at the moment. It will become a bit more frequently now that my son's settling into his routine and I can kind of figure out my weeks and things like that. It's been a bit of a gap, but you know, that sort of comes with being a new parent, unfortunately. But until next time, take care of yourselves.